prelims is over and there have been many questions regarding the what could be the cutoff of the paper and what was the exact nature of the paper, whether it was difficult, whether it was moderate, or whether it was easy compared to last year. So based on the questions asked, based on the number of questions asked from the basic sources, we are going to decide what could be the nature and what could be the cutoff of this year's paper. So in this video, we are going to discuss nature of the paper, what was the weightage of current affairs, and what could be the expected cutoff. And there have been many questions regarding the CSAT as well, whether this year's paper was easy or difficult. All right, many students are facing difficulty in CSAT this year, so we will discuss that briefly. And what could be the next steps of yours. All right, even if you're clearing or not clearing, doesn't matter, what could be your next steps. So if we look at the questions thoroughly, so let's talk about set A. In set A, from question number 1 to question number 10, there were questions from economics. All right, economics. And out of these 10 questions, 8 questions were gettable. This year's economy very easy. Now, what do I mean by this gettable question? Understand this thing. If the question is from basic sources or basic and standard sources read by the, so basic and standard sources available in the market. So that means either Mrunal sir's notes or maybe Sriram sir's notes, the standard material available in the market. So if the questions are solvable based on this material, based on the and one more thing, based on the current affairs standard material. All right, so standard material means what the competition is reading throughout India. So if there are if the questions are from these sources, and if you have the third important thing, MCQ solving ability, and the last one related to PYQ. All right, so this is my criteria of saying whether a question is gettable or non-gettable. All right, first one, basic, the question is from basic and standard sources. Second one, it is from current affairs. Third one, you have MCQ solving ability, and fourth one, this question is related to PYQs. All right, so out of 10 questions from question number 1 to 10, there were 8 questions which were solvable. We will have a separate and detailed video on why I'm saying and which questions are gettable. All right, we will release that video in next 1 or 2 days. Now from question number 11 to question number 20, there were questions from history, and out of this, the history this year was relatively easy, and there were 5 questions which were solvable. All right, which were solvable. Now from question number 21 to question number 30, questions were from geography. And out of these 10 questions, 6 questions were gettable. All right, 6 questions were gettable. Now what do I mean by gettable questions? I have already discussed. Now next is question number 31 to question number 40. Questions were from environment. Now environment, again, like every year, this year also environment was little tougher. Only around 2 to 3 questions were gettable. Like every year, this year also environment was tough. Next is question number 41 to 50. Questions were from S&T, science and technology, and there have been some questions from environmental technology. Now see, this again, this is one of the difficult section of UPSC Prelims, and there were only 3 questions out of 10 questions which were solvable or gettable. Now comes the polity part. All right, from 51 to 60. From 15 to 60, like every year, this year also polities questions were gettable. All right, though some questions were lengthy, and some questions required little application, but again, based on the standard source Lakshmikant, 8 questions were solvable. 8 questions were solvable. Now when I'm telling these questions are solvable, you should ask yourself why these questions were solvable to you and why these questions were not, you were not able to solve these questions. All right, we will discuss in detail about these questions in upcoming video. Now next is question number 61 to question number 70. There were 5 questions. These questions were again from economy plus schemes plus current affairs. All right, again this was a little moderate part of the question paper, and 5 questions were solvable from this section. Now question number 71 to 75 plus question number 78, these questions were from history, and again this section was easy. Out of these 5 questions were solvable, very simple questions, very simple questions. And now question number 76 to 80 questions were again from geography, and this part I will say it was a little tougher, and only 2 questions were solvable, only 2 questions were solvable. And from question number 81 to question number 85, there were 5 questions from S&T, and only 2 questions were solvable. 3 questions were again very difficult, and there was high chance of getting these questions wrong. From question number 86 to 91 questions were from polity, and out of these questions 5 questions, all questions were gettable, very easy questions which were from questions were on governor, speaker of the Lok Sabha, and so on, and everything is given in detail in Lakshmikant. Question number 92 to 100, these questions were random, all right, and these were very difficult questions. Like every year UPSC asks some random questions in the last section of the paper, and only I will say 1 or 2 question was gettable, all right. So whether you should attempt a question or not, that depends on your knowledge, that depends on the difficulty level, whether you are able to eliminate particular options or not, all right. So consider this particular part in this last section. Now if we calculate the total number of questions which are solvable, total number of questions solvable were 54 questions. So 54 questions are solvable, which means you should have got around 108 mark, all right. So last year this number was around 120, but this year this number is around 108. So if we look at if we compare last year's paper and this year, last year's papers with this year, definitely there is a little increase in the difficulty level. So based on the solvable questions, based on the difficulty level, based on the number of vacancies that are there this year, we can say this year's cutoff, again we must consider the CSAT factor as well, all right. We must consider CSAT factor, because last year almost everybody who was a sincere and serious candidate was able to clear the CSAT paper, but this year again many serious candidates are not able to qualify the CSAT paper, all right. So this is again going to play a bigger one of the important role in determining the cutoff. So based on all these factors, based on the rational facts, we can say the expected cutoff this year could be around 86 plus minus 2, all right, plus minus 2. We need to consider the increase in the competition that is there every year, all right. We need to consider that factor as well. So based on that, I'm saying the cutoff could be around somewhere 86 plus minus 2, but in any case it is not going to cross the 90 number, all right. So everyone who is beyond 90 is definitely safe, and who is beyond 100 marks, he is or she is super safe. So now the next question is, what's next? So if your score is around 90, you must start preparing for the mains examination, all right. So do not be in a limbo, do not be in a dilemma whether you should clear or whether you will not clear, because this is only going to kill your time. And if you do not work for next 1 month, and if you only wait for the results, then again you will be thrown out of the competition. There will be no use of it even if you clear the prelims examination, all right. So right away you should start preparation of your mains. So anyhow, most of you must be planning for next attempt. Even if you do not clear this year, this year's work will be useful for next year, all right. But if you do not prepare, again you will be stuck into a vicious cycle of negativity. So you will waste your 1 month, and then you will Ask yourself why you wasted this 1 month, and again this thought process will go on, and again you will waste your next 2-3 months. So to avoid this scenario, to avoid this thing in your life, you must start preparation right from today. All right, and those who are very much comfortable in prelims, you can right away, you must start as soon as possible and get the head start, get the lead in the process. So thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel.